Hello, everyone. This is Cynthia Kane, one of the Reference and Instruction Librarians at the Emporia State University Libraries and Archives. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to find the full text of articles and also other items if the full text doesn't immediately pop up in a database that you are using. I'm also going to show you how to use a service called Interlibrary Loan, which is a good way of asking for articles or books that are actually not owned by Emporia State University at all. So first, we're going to verify to see if we can find the full text elsewhere in a database owned by our library. And if we didn't find that, then I will show you how you could do interlibrary loan to ask for a copy of that article or other item. So I'm going back to two of the searches that I've done in a previous video tutorial. In this one, I've gone back to the Education Source database, and I had a very good search going with elementary education and autism or ASD. I had saved my search in a previous session in my EBSCOhost account. And always remember, you want to click here on Sign In and then sign in with your EBSCOhost account so that you can save your search history, and then you can also save articles or other items that you find during your search. So I'm signed in as myself. I'm now going to go over here to Search History because I wanted to show you how you would retrieve a saved search. We're going to go to Retrieve Searches, and I have several that have been saved in different databases, as you can see. And this is the one that I saved previously in the Education Source database on ASD. So we'll click on Retrieve Saved Search. And I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to tell the database that I want to rerun this search. And you see what a time saver that was. I'm now back to my search, and I didn't have to remember what I put in and the limits or the parameters that I did. I wanted to use this search as an example to show you what you can do when you're not immediately finding the full text of an article or other source. And then I'm going to show you the same thing in the search that we did in a previous video tutorial when we were combining databases. So we'll go ahead and start with this one. And you can see that I do have the PDF full text for a lot of different articles, but I don't have it for every single one. And again, remember, the reason that I didn't want to limit to full text was that I was concerned that I might eliminate some articles that maybe I could find in other databases or I could obtain through interlibrary loan. And as I scroll down here, I'm going to do this one that's called Assessing Sufficient Social Exemplars for Students with Autism. Now, this is from a journal called Behavioral Disorders. It's from November of 1995, so it might be a little bit dated, but it still might be an article that I would like to read, maybe for some good background information. So we're going to click on the full record for this. And again, remember, I could go over here to add to folder if I wanted to save this reference to look at later on in my EBSCOhost account. Now, I don't have the full text here, but I'm going to highlight the title of the article. And I'm going to go back over here. A hint that I can give you as well is that you always want to have one extra tab in your browser open to the library's webpage at www.emporia.edu/library. And this is a good reason why. I didn't want to lose that search in Education Source, so I wanted to keep that going in another tab. But now I need to go back to the University Libraries and Archives page because I need to go into something called the Discovery Search Catalog. The Discovery Search Catalog is useful for finding known items such as specific articles or specific books or other specific items. If you have a message up here that says, "Hello guest, log in for full access," go ahead and click on that. I'm still logged in with my ESU username and password, but that just made sure that I was logged in so I could actually use this catalog effectively. And now I'm going to paste that title of the article. And we're going to see if we have this maybe in another database or another source. Now this specific one we don't have. I got kind of excited about this, but you can see that I'm getting some other articles that are using some of those keywords. I didn't see this here or here. However, this looks like the article that I was looking for, Assessing Sufficient Social Exemplars for Students with Autism. And there's a link here that says Full Text Finder. Let's follow that. And I'm going to click on this link again. And it looks like when I click on the full text for the PDF, notice what happened here. Remember, that article wasn't available in full text in the education source database, but I was able to find it in another database using the Discovery Search Catalog. This is the major reason that I do not limit my search in a database to full text. I would not have found this article otherwise, and it could indeed be useful for background information for my research. So again, you would copy the title of the article when you're not finding that in full text in one database, go back to the library's webpage, click on the Discovery Search Catalog, and copy and paste that title of the article. Now, this may not work for everyone. So for example, I'm going to go back over here. And I'm just going to say, for the purposes of our demonstration, that I looked for this one under the title of the article, and it was not available in full text anywhere in our library. I don't want to give up hope just yet now. You, at this point, can do a service called Interlibrary Loan, and some of you may have done this before in different libraries. Interlibrary Loan simply means that I'm going to request that a copy of this article be found in another library and emailed to me as a PDF. There is absolutely no charge for this service. The only time that there might be a charge is if the lending library might be charging for a copy of an article or for another item. If that happens, we are not going to charge you automatically. We would contact you through email and we would say, this is a situation, would you be willing to pay whatever this lending library is asking for a copy of this article? And then that's totally up to you. You might say that it's not worth it. It's maybe that article is not that necessary. Or you might say that you do really want that article and that you would be willing to pay, but we're not going to suddenly charge you or send you a charge as a surprise after the fact. But most of the time, there's absolutely no charge. You would log in to our Interlibrary Loan Service here, again, with your username and your password. Now, I have done Interlibrary Loan many times through our library, and so my screen automatically popped into this article request that was filled out automatically through that Interlibrary Loan link. If you haven't done Interlibrary Loan before, you're going to get a screen right before this one. It's going to ask you to enter some personal information, basically your mailing address, your contact information, which does need to be your g.emporia.edu address for official communication. And you only have to do that one time. But this is what I love about doing Interlibrary Loan through a database such as Education Source. I did not have to fill this information out. It's all there. All I would have to do is click on Submit Request. And then that request would go to our Interlibrary Loan Office probably within 24 to 48 working hours during a working day or during a working week. We would find that article, get it to you as PDF, and then send that to you. So that actually happens pretty quickly. Again, do not rule out articles when you're not finding them immediately in full text. Allow that sufficient time to do your research ahead of schedule so that if you do find articles that aren't available in full text here and you would need to do an interlibrary loan request, you'll have time to do that. I'm going to go over here, and this might look familiar from another video tutorial. This is the search that I did on my topic, and I was actually doing this search in more than one database. I did Education Source, Professional Development Collection, and ERIC. And the reason I did that was that this one is going to look a little bit different. Some of these articles in this combined search in more than one database will have the link to the full text through, say, the ERIC database. So I could click on that link and I could retrieve the full text that way through the ERIC database, and we'll do that. Now this one is a very interesting one. It's actually not a journal article. Notice over here, there's a number that says ED. In the ERIC database, which is from the US Department of Education, many documents that are considered to be ED for educational documents are available. And an ED document means that it could be a research report, it could be a dissertation, it could be a series of conference proceedings, it could be anything that, as we see on the screen, is a non-journal article. Now, are these good to use in research? Yes. What we would advise is that you would check with your professor if you're using EDs for ERIC documents to see if that's also going to be the type of research that you would need to do for a project or for a paper, or if it just needs to be peer-reviewed journal articles, since these are not journals. But then I could click on this download full text, and this would download the entire ERIC document for me then that I could save to my computer or print it out. So that's one advantage of doing searching in more than one database. You're going to get a lot of different types of items besides articles, if that is what you need for your research. And I'm going to scroll back down here. Again, this is my search. That's in several databases. And you notice over here, since I'm doing a search now in more than one database, I could go back and limit my search just to peer-reviewed. But I'm going to keep scrolling down here because I wanted to use this next one as an example. This one is a little bit different. So again, since I'm searching in more than one database and I didn't specifically limit to journal articles, this is a reference to a dissertation. So this is a dissertation that someone has written for their PhD, and it looks like they wrote that at Florida State University. Dissertations can be wonderful resources for research as well, because a dissertation may contain some original documentation and original research that you wouldn't find in other places. You can also look at the bibliography or the references list in the dissertation, very similar to looking at a bibliography or a references list at the end of a journal article, and find other references then that you can track down and see if you can find them online or if you would need to do interlibrary loan. So it's another way of doing research. Now you might think, that's all very well and good, but I don't have the full text of the dissertation. Well, we're going to go back over here. Again, having my tab open to the University Libraries and Archives webpage, and we're going to click on Databases again. If you find a citation or a reference to a dissertation, we have another database, and this is now under the letter P. I'm going to clear this. And go back over here. And then I'm going to navigate back over here to the letter D. And this one is called ProQuest Dissertations and Theses Global. And this is kind of an interesting database because it has actually a lot of PDF full text of dissertations and theses that have been published by different universities and digitized. So that means that I could go back over here to this search, which is the reference for a dissertation, And I think what I am going to do is actually copy and paste not all of the title, but the first few words of the title. And now I'm going to go back over here to ProQuest Dissertations and Theses Global, and I'm going to paste part of this. And I'm going to see if I can find the full text of the dissertation here in the ProQuest database. And I did. And there it is. So I could, and you notice I find other things that might be related because it's kind of picking up those words of the title in a keyword. So I might even want to look at some of these other dissertations. But for this one, let's look at the full text in PDF. And there it is. And again, that can be a wealth of information. So again, even though the full text of the dissertation wasn't available in that search that I was doing in several databases, I could go over to Dissertations and Theses Global, and I could paste the title of the dissertation, and the chances are very good that I will be able to find the full text. I probably don't want to read this whole dissertation online. In this case, I could download the PDF of the dissertation, and then I could read that offline and highlight anything that I would be interested in. And we'll go back over here. So to sum up, there's more than one way of finding the full text of articles, dissertations, and other items when you're not finding them immediately in a database. I think the key is persistence and not giving up. And always knowing that you can use Interlibrary Loan as another option. And we'll return here. Thank you for watching this video. And keep in mind that you can always reach us for help with your research. Remember that you can go to www.emporia.edu/library. You can call us at 620-341-5207 to reach the reference desk. But you can also email us at librep01@emporia.edu. We'll be happy to help, and we will also help identify a librarian who can help you with your specific research need. Thank you for watching.